assume you're just as encouraged about the weekend as you are 2 days later, I mean, looking back.
Yeah, I'd say encourage is probably the strongest word we'll use. We're not going to get too more than that. I mean, obviously it was a necessary weekend. We added a non-conference game that counts, which I hadn't ever been a part of before, as that weekend, which I thought in hindsight worked out great. It was a hard game. There was some adversity. There was some things to get through, and I thought, some things we did fine, some things we didn't do so fine. But ultimately, it was a good experience for us. And then to come home Sunday and be able to feel good about what we're doing and put some goals on the board and kind of play back-to-back games against somebody else, it was positive. So we'll leave it at that. And they had yesterday off. Today we used it's kind of like a Monday and had our meeting, wrapped up the weekend, started to talk a little bit about union, and got back to work.
What do you see as the major areas that you have to work on right now?
The major areas, I'd say, first and foremost, our play with the puck has not been good enough. We are far too loose with the puck, generally speaking. We were that way with Niagara. I thought there was times in that game where we really made it difficult for them to get things going, and then we started to give them opportunities to get things going by turning the puck over. And same thing yesterday or Sunday, sorry. And one of the things that we've talked to our guys about today is Union is a team that will hurt you if you turn the puck over and you don't make good hard plays with the puck. So that's going to be a focus, and I'm sure it'll be a focus in January as well as it is in October. But that's one, and then the other one I think early is just conditioning. I think our conditioning is something that is kind of a work in progress always, but you start to go back to back with a 5-hour bus ride in the middle. Your conditioning early in the year shows up a little bit. So our play with the puck and conditioning will be two things that we'll talk about.
Where the program is now compared to last year, compared to 2 years ago, you're making the progress you want to make?
We're in a different place than we were last year at this time when we were 2 years ago at this time. Last year at this time, in hindsight, there was a sense of we're going to be better and things are changing and so on and so forth, and I forgot the fact or overlooked the fact that 15 of our players most nights were going to be underclassmen. 2 years ago at this time, we had no idea. So I think we're much more further along in terms of my mindset and the coaches' reality about what's going on. We are excited about where we are, but it's the beginning of a new year, so we're always going to be excited. I think we've got our arms wrapped around the fact that our program is progressing. The progress is not leaps and bounds in our estimation. It's small steps forward. I still feel like there's opportunities for older people to grab a hold of situations and make it theirs. And there'll always be that in terms of saying something on the bus or saying something in practice or saying something after the team scores a goal with 50 seconds to go to tie a game up. It shouldn't have to come from the coaches. That is a work in progress. But I do think we have our arms wrapped around the fact that we're progressing. Our culture and brand is more established than it was last year, more established than it was 2 years ago for sure, which is huge for me. But it's not to where by any means are we on autopilot. It's just kind of, living on its own. So we're in a better place. I think that more kids here have proven they're willing to be part of this brand and they want to be part of it. Our talent, we feel, is better, but it's still very much early in this process. And, I think we learned at Niagara, we're not just going to put the gear on and go beat teams because we had a good run at the end of last year. That's not going to happen. So now we can kind of dig in, and really get after it now and just play. I mean, there's going to be talk, there's going to be expectation. I think for the most part we're still under the radar, but that's the outside people talking, and that's okay. We'll leave it there. I think we're in a different place, but there's still lots of work to be done.
Coach, will you assess the way that the blue line played on Sunday, particularly on the offensive end? It seemed like a lot more than last year that you had guys jumping and joining the rush.
Yeah, we want to be that, okay? So that's maybe a snapshot of what the future shows. We've got some guys, whether it's Sullivan or Shea or Perrier, that have jumped into play throughout their career. We want that to be part of their game. It hasn't been necessarily at this point for Michael or Marcus. They were freshmen last year, you know, so they're trying to figure out how to defend first, because look at, you guys are defensemen, so you needed to defend first. Bobby, I think in the same sense, is that, well, what do these coaches want me to do? And, you know, last year at this time he was playing forward. So we just feel like we've kind of, they know what to expect in terms of defensively and what we need to do defensively to defend. We do want to add that element to our game. Not high-risk hockey, not run and gun where we're not defending. We will and need to defend first, and then if that can lead to them jumping in plays, we'll do so. You know, I think OIT took some chances, you know, when the score was what it was, and that led to, you know, you don't see a 3-on-2 on a penalty kill that's led by two defensemen. I mean, you just don't, and you won't see that much. So having one jump in a play more consistently, I think you'll see that. You know, is it going to be an absolute open door free-for-all? No, we're still going to be responsible and defend first, and whatever we get from them in terms of contributions is going to be gravy.
In terms of what you saw offensively from your team, do you feel you're on the right track to being a better team?
Yes. With that being said, though, Kevin, I think you look at, I think some of the offensive guys are now a little bit older, okay? There's 3 or 4 of them that are young first-year guys. I mean, you haven't seen Tate yet. Mingo, Murphy, Cooper have all been guys that have been expected to put up offense before, and they're going to be putting those roles around here. I do think, however, though, our details and some of the small focuses that we think create offense, we weren't great at. I don't think our traffic around the other team's net was even close to good enough. And that's something that helps me with 5-on-5 play. We've got to be better at that. It's a small detail, it's a commitment, but it's something that helps. You take a goalie's eyes away, and you talk about making it hard for him to do his job. This weekend, we're going to have to do that. That's a decision. That's a commitment level saying, this is what I'm going to do. So I think it showed some, I think the end of last year and this weekend showed a light, hopefully at the end of the tunnel, that we have some guys that can create offense at this level. I think our power play showed that there seems to be a little bit of purpose to what's going on. That will help us create offense. But ultimately, I think our details can be better in terms of our offensive zone play, which the first thing that comes to mind is net front presence. The second thing that comes to mind is throwing pucks at the net. I thought there was too many times, both games, where we looked to pass without just skating down the wing and hammering that puck on net. And I think that's something that, especially in a game like Sunday, you really have to be aware of. Let's do things our way, let's do them the right way, and not get away from that because of what the score is. I thought for the most part our guys did a decent job. But creating offense for us has obviously been an issue. We think we've addressed it in terms of personnel. We've got some guys that are a year older or 2 years older in terms of guys that have created offense. I mean, we can't forget about Moeller and Williamson. I think, you know, Bryce Williamson led the Alberta League in scoring. We haven't seen that from Bryce yet in terms of consistency. So there's guys that have done it. We just have to put it all together and do it on a daily basis. And we think, you know, the weekend showed signs. But last year at this time we scored 7 goals against OIT, and we scored 1.5 a game moving into the regular season. So we've got to keep a little sense of reality here. Had we scored 4 goals at Niagara, we win the game 4-2. We're not down to a 50-second play. And we had opportunities. I thought we had opportunities to score more than 2 goals, and we didn't. So I think that process is one we're right in the middle of it. It's still going to be something that we're looking for guys to establish themselves as offensive players.
It's based on a sort of a small sample size, but after 2 games, how would you assess the Salvo's play as a centerman?
You know, it's a good question. I think it's been pretty good. You know, he's a really good hockey player. When you watch him on tape, he's very, very smart, and he's usually doing things the way you're supposed to be doing them. He rarely cheats the game. You know, he's rarely trying to cut corners and take the easy way, and he's really shifty with the puck. You know, he's got more pace to his game than people think because you don't see it all the time. He's good at slowing things down as well. I think he's done a nice job at transitioning to center. Obviously, it's a big job because he's a young guy whose game is evolving, and he's playing with two young guys who are trying to figure out how to play at this level, at least right now. So there's a lot on his plate. I think specifically, he can take on face-offs, like the actual art of taking face-offs as an opportunity to add a layer to his game. He was, I think, 7-4 on Sunday and just under 500 on Saturday. That's something that, you know, Wallace is our guy. He's been our guy for a couple of years, but in terms of the best percentage guy, you know, I talked to Danny today, actually, you know, make sure you take ownership of face-offs. I'm not necessarily saying face-offs are strictly center versus center, because they're not, but you don't want to lose them clean either. And I do think there's a little bit of an art to it, and practice is something that you can control that. So I think he's transitioned nicely. It's not a surprise. He's a kid that wants to play with the puck on his stick. Centermen generally have the puck on their stick more. And I think all in all, he's done pretty well. And he's a guy that we have high expectations for. And the way he started this year, you know, within relative speaking, there's no reason to believe he can't get to those expectations.
Was there a particular reason for pulling him off the wing and moving him to center, or was it just kind of a...
We don't want one line to be our offense, and I'm not that line had evolved, and I think I let it happen as much as anybody. It became the talk of our playoffs, and our team was much more than one line. We wanted to spread it out a little bit, okay, and we want to see Danny at center. You know, again, I think it's a position that has the puck on a stick more, and you know, all three of those guys, when you talk about Burkle, Carpenter, and DeSalvo, all want the puck on their stick. Well, there's only one puck, so just to share it a little bit. And you know, when you put the puck on Ben Murphy's stick in certain areas, it's going to end up in the back of the net or a good opportunity. That's just what he does. I think Mark Cooper's got that in him as well. So, you know, you got a guy like DeSalvo that can really do some good things with the puck. You know, it seemed like a good potential line. So, it's so early. None of that stuff is cast in stone. We haven't seen Tate yet. We haven't seen Williamson yet. I mean, these are top 9 guys that we feel in the right setup, they could be really good players, you know? So who knows? They may end up playing with DeSalvo, and maybe we move Danny back to the wing at some point. But we wanted to see him at center. He was open to it. And to this point, it seems like a pretty seamless transition.
How do you compare Sully where he's at now to where he was at the end of last year?
Well, let's compare him to the beginning of last year.
Okay.
I think he's in a different place. Michael, you said Sully, right?
Yes.
Sullivan. He is a guy that we have high expectations for, okay, first and foremost. Michael is a young guy that's growing up, not only physically, but emotionally, maturity-wise. He's growing up, and 12 months can do a lot for a young guy. He is, the best way for me to put it, he was just green to the process, okay, or to the whole situation last year. His brother had gone through it, but it was first time for him, and he had lots of questions, and you know, just that young guy geeked out and always ready to go and amped up. And we needed to bring some composure to his game, and we thought that as the year went on, he developed that. He's extremely hard on himself. He wants to be great. He wants Bowling Green hockey to be great. That hasn't changed. But again, you have to have some poise and some focus and some purpose to what you're doing. So there is a sense of, hey, this is why I'm doing things. No, I'm not just doing them because I want it to happen. There's got to be a process to that. And I think there's more of a process to what he's doing. It's very early. But the one thing Michael can do is Michael sees the game very, very well. He's a hockey guy. He loves hockey. He's a fan of it. He watches it. And when you see him out there, he made a few passes in Niagara that were just really, really strong plays that he didn't make last year. And we knew it was in him because we'd seen it. So, you know, everything, again, let's keep things in relative terms. We've played 2 games. The progress is coming. We're going to keep our foot on the gas and stay on him because we think his ceiling is really good. And he's somebody that we feel had a tough time last year, kind of getting out of his own way, because he was so worried to make it everybody happy and so worried to be great and so worried about everything versus just go and play and don't worry so much. So I think he's in a different place that way, but it all starts with the off ice. He's just a little more focused, a little more mature, a little more aware of what to expect. And at the end of last year, I thought he was playing pretty good hockey, which that's why I say instead of the end of last year to now, let's say the beginning of last year to now, because the other thing Michael has done is he's gotten a lot stronger. He did a nice job in the weight room. He doesn't look a whole lot different, but he's a lot stronger. The numbers show it. So I think he committed himself in the weight room as well. So he's growing up and maturing physically as well as mentally at the same time. And to this point, it has shown up in his play.
Talk about Union.
Yeah, man, Union is really good. They're really good. I talked to some people that know the team inside and out about last year, and Jeremy Welsh and Kelly Zajac were their two best players. Welsh arguably was their everything. Signed with Carolina, obviously a big time player. But they've got some really good players coming back. Their goaltender is strong. Troy Grosnick is a guy that people are looking at to be an All-American type guy. Daniel Kara scored 20 goals the first 2 seasons of his career, which is not easy to do. Their power play was at 25% last year. It's a team that can hurt you. Probably similar to the upper echelon of our league, of what we see, a Michigan, a Miami, a Notre Dame, a Western Michigan now. So I'm not saying it's a ho-hum thing. I'm just saying it's something that we face on a weekly basis within our league. And you get away from the process and the details. We get away from those things and what the things we need to do to be good. They will expose you, and they'll expose you big time. If you play the game hard and you pay attention to details, for example, as you go and Matt Bodie is a guy. He's one of their one of their top point guys. You swing away from him. You make the game easy for him and let him get up and down the ice. He'll make you pay. You take a swing at somebody at the end of a whistle and you punch someone in a cage and you go down again, and now that's another power play they have. They'll make you pay. So we have to be disciplined with our game plan. We have to be disciplined with the process and the details of our game individually. And also we have to be disciplined with our emotion, because we feel like, it's the first weekend where there's going to maybe sort of a little bit of a buzz because the students are back and it's the first hockey home game and so on. So everyone wants to play. And they were ranked 5th in the country, and now they're ranked 10th, and you know how those rankings go. They fluctuate like the weather, but they're a good team, right? They're a good team. I think everybody in the country can agree they're a top 10 team returning off of a Frozen 4 from last year. So we feel like those are some individuals that really stand out based on their numbers. Their power play is a piece of their game that is extremely strong, and they play with this swagger and this belief that we're going to come to the CCHA and show them how to play hockey ECAC style. That's a great challenge for us. I really am excited about our non-conference. I think it's a great opportunity for us with Union and Colgate back-to-back weekends to really get into league-like situations. League-like situations where this is CCHA time. And Niagara was the same thing. Without knowing a whole lot about Niagara, it was the same thing. It's a 2-1 game with a minute to go. Or it's a 1-1 game with 4 minutes to go. Who's going to make a play, right? Both sides of it. Who's going to defend? Who's going to create an opportunity to score a goal? So this is good stuff for us to get prepared for CCHA play, which is coming. We think they're a great opponent, and we're looking forward to the challenge.
From a program standpoint, what does it mean for you guys to be able to get an elite non-conference team to come here and play in this building?
I think it's outstanding. I think it's outstanding. And I'll credit Nate Lehman for this, because Nate was the one who was the head coach at the time that Nate and I spoke. And when Rick Bennett took over, Rick and I actually have a history. We played minor pro together for a short time, and he was all about it. So I just think I'm happy for our guys. I'm happy for our school. I don't know if the students on our campus realize what Union College hockey is and how good it is. But we know, so we think it's great, and I'm glad they were open to the invitation, or open to the discussion, and we're looking forward to it.
Jake Sloat tweeted Sunday night that the leg was broken. I assume that's correct. Okay. Is he done for the year?
I don't think so, Kevin. I don't think so. Knowing Jake, we're looking. I think we're looking start of the year. Okay, start of 2013 for him to be actually out there competing to get back in the lineup. Okay, so then there's some reality there. He's going to be 4 months or 3 months behind. Now, Jake Slow works like, you know, whatever person in your life or whatever you're thinking of, how hard that kid works or that person works, that's what Jake does. And he's one of those kids that it's hard to look at him in a boot on Sunday night because he's such a great kid, and know that he's looking at the next 3 months, they're going to be hard. But if there's a kid that's going to get through it, Jake will get through it. And our feeling is, because of his makeup and because of his determination, he'll find a way to be back out there competing. So I don't think this season necessarily is a write-off. And I'm not willing to do that. I know he's not going to do that. So he's as of today, he's on the road to recovery. And that's the best way we can put it. Obviously, we all know that there's a time frame minimum before he can start doing things, and we'll abide by that time frame step by step. But he knows we're all thinking about him, and I think when a family member like that goes down in a city early in the year, and you know that kind of thing, and we all hopefully think about him and keep him in our thoughts, and know that he's going to be back out here with us before we know it. So he's like I said, he's a great kid, and he's as far as we know, he's on the road to recovery right now, and we're thinking more right around the start of the new year.
Is Brent Tate hurt, or was he a healthy scratch?
No, Brent Tate is his back has begun to act up. When you play the game as hard as Brent does, it's bound to happen. I think it's a minor situation, but it's one that you really have to. It has to go away before you can play, because it affects more parts of your body than just your back. So we need him healthy. He has to play the game healthy because he plays it so hard. If he's 90%, it's not good enough, because his body will break down because that's how hard he plays. So we want him back out there, but we know that it's just a matter of when and not if.
You anticipate him being in the lineup this weekend?
As of today, no, because he wasn't able to practice today, and I think we're all established, if you're not practicing, you're not playing. But does that change tomorrow? I haven't got the report yet today as far as tomorrow's lineup goes in terms of injury, but just the way going into today, my mindset was that we weren't going to have him for the weekend.
And given the way he plays and given the nature of back injuries, is it more important to get him healthy first so that he doesn't further injure the...
I think absolutely. And none of that stuff, this is about Brent now. We want Brent healthy so he can play the game the way he wants to play it. So it's not about anything else. And we're going to wait till he's 100% and get him back out there.
And then is Brent Williamson or
Bryce?
I'm sorry, Bryce.
Bryce was dealing with a medical condition that we were under doctor's orders that he was not able to take contact or really participate in practice at 100% level. He got the green light on Sunday, and he was out there yesterday on his own, and he was out there today practicing in a normal color with a normal line. And so Bryce will be in the mix to play this weekend, based on his conditioning and where that overall level is.
So he hasn't practiced at all?
He's been in and out of practice, Kevin. It was kind of a contact thing, and obviously there's contact in practice, and when you get removed from those drills or excluded from those drills, that's a conditioning piece right there you're not getting. It's hard to simulate that. So he was only taking part of, let's just say, half the practice for argument's sake, and that obviously wasn't enough. And we did get the full go green light Sunday or Monday, and he was out there today.
And then anybody else injuries out of the weekend?
No, and it's the regular stuff. We got Delgadillo got hit with a shot in the foot, but it was just precaution on Sunday to keep him out. I mean, he was back out there today, so I think we're good. Tate and Sloat are the ones that we're concerned about, but other than that, we're good.
Where did you and Rick
we spent time in Cincinnati together. I'm not sure how he got there. I think he knew Ron Smith, the coach, from his days with the New York Ranger organization. I think Rick was a first-round draft pick. He's a really nice guy. We kind of clicked back up in the assistant coaching circle. I think he was at Providence for a bit, if I'm not mistaken, when I was at Miami, and then he ended up at Union. So I've known him pretty well. So when Nate left, I wasn't really worried about us losing the Union games because I knew Rick anyway. So we played a little bit together in Cincinnati.
And then have you had a chance to ask him if you guys are going to use the shootout this weekend?
I have asked him, and he's open to it. So the shootout, if need be, we'll do it. I just thought with our home rink, I made a mistake by not asking coaches in the past that came to our rink about that potential. Won't do it again, and he was all about it. So, and I would like to moving forward. I mean, it helps us practice for league games because those are points that we need, and I know the fans enjoy it. So,
That's good.
Congratulations on the 2-year extension.
Thank you.
Any comment on that?
Just it's a very humbling thing for the whole staff to have the 2 years we've had in terms of results and standings, and the school to come and say, we want you here. We believe this plan is working, as much as there's some days where it doesn't seem like it, but to have outside people feel the same way and comment on it and step forward. Very proud to be here, and I just wanted to show everybody that this is how committed we are to this whole thing, and the fact that the athletic department, Greg and Dr. Maisie, felt like, hey, we want this guy here and his staff here and so on. It was, like I said, pretty humbling thing, and we're glad, and hopefully that's something now we don't have to think about it. So it's a good thing.
How do you compare where you're at personally to where you were at the start of last year? How your game has evolved since then?
I think I'm just more physically able and ready compared to last year. Last year, you could still argue that I was still going through puberty. I'm physically more mature and physically more stronger, and I'm way more confident in my body. And I just think that now as well, with that comes confidence on the ice. And I think that pucks aren't blowing up on my stick as much as last year, because I think the confidence from the coaches and from my teammates have really started to show.
How do you feel about the way the season has started for you
Individually? Individually, I think I personally had a really good weekend, actually. Me and Shea had a really good weekend. I think we weren't on for any goals against in the Niagara game, the one we were on for yesterday, or Sunday, but we had a great game defensively and offensively in Niagara with a great goal by Bob off of a nice pass. And I think that right now I'm just comfortable with my my footwork, and with my body, and I think that I've been able to be a harder defenseman to play against.
I feel like some of that started at the end of last year. You guys seem to be playing pretty well down the stretch.
Yeah, of course. I think that last year, getting all that exposure to playing against some of the top teams in the playoffs in such hard times at the end of the year, I think that the confidence and the chemistry between myself and Bob really started to grow. And I think, again, playing in those games with under the having Coach Eigner and Coach Bergeron, Coach Schutte keep putting us out there in overtime in that final game, I think that you just learn from experience, and I think that has translated onto the ice this year.
Were there things that you did in the off season from a physical perspective to get stronger?
Every off season I work out with my brother, and my brother played at Niagara actually, so he knows what it takes to be a defenseman at a high level, and I think that I just worked out all the time. I dedicated my entire summer to just making sure that I'm physically ready to contribute on the ice and off the ice this year. And I came down to the school for 2 weeks to work out with the guys to see where I was at, and I felt really good. And I went back and just did exactly the same thing I did in the first half of the summer, focusing on my lower body, because I didn't want to get pushed off pucks, and when I'm in the corner, I want to rely on my center of gravity in order to beat off the other forwards that are coming into the corner with me.
So is that in the gym, just working with weights, or are there other different types of techniques?
Yeah, I do a power skating thing as well in Toronto, and that has worked on my quick feet really a lot. But other than that, just whether it be at the track, working on sprints, or going for a long jog to work on my endurance. I was hitting the gym and pretty much dedicating almost 3 to 4 hours a day on specifics just to make sure that this year goes well.
When looking ahead towards the weekend facing a team like Union, what are some of the challenges they present to you when you're any team when you're facing a team that they're stingy defensively but also explosive offensively?
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier today about how good their power play was. I think it was something like 25%. And I think that we need to be hard to play against in our own zone, whether it be on the PK, not letting up the blue line, forcing them to dump the puck in, which means that it'll be a 50-50 battle, which we're confident that we're going to win. And defensively, they have a couple guys who are pretty slick, so we got to make sure that we shut them down early and often. How we make, whether we go stick on puck or body on body, we just got to make sure that we have to shut down their creativity and simplify the game, which we're pretty good at. So.
And then what does it mean for the program to have an elite non-conference team come play in this building?
You know what? I think it's great. I think it's great to play such a good team early, because I think that whether it be coming down to the end of the year, like we go to Yost eventually, and playing some of the big name teams at the end of the year, I think since playing Union, who was in the Frozen Four last year early, I think it'll give the fans a taste of what we can do, and I think it'll really help our freshmen out, get the early season jitters out. And I think for us, it'll just show the returning guys that we're comfortable to play against any team in the NCAA.